you, Sid. Thank you, Krithika. It's really good to have you here. Thank you very much for accepting this invitation.
Our pleasure.
Absolutely.
Excellent. So, first of all, I'd like you to introduce yourself, telling a bit about your experience and background.
Krithi?
Sure. My name is Krithika, and I'm the CMO of Cosine Labs. Essentially, we've been building Cosine Labs as a company for the last 3.5 years. I have close to about 13 years of experience, and I began my career in investment banking, primarily in operations. After about 7 years of working for an MNC, I decided that I wanted to become an entrepreneur. So the last 8 years, I've spent a fair amount of time working in setting up various businesses, 4 years of which has been Cosine Labs, and accumulated quite a bit of prop tech experience and insight into the prop tech space over the course of the last 4 years, with deep insights in how IoT and technology products contribute to the real estate industry. So that would be me. I'll hand it over to Siddharth.
Excellent.
Thank you, Krithi. I'm Siddharth Banerjee, Director and CEO at Cosine Labs. I'm a very technical person. I've been a computer engineer and worked for close to 14 years in various roles in various companies before starting up my entrepreneurial journey. And this is my third startup. Various domains that I have worked on would include the healthcare sector, the public domain sector, and now the real estate sector. Cosine Labs has been an amazing journey in terms of understanding how IoT can actually benefit real estate, and how do we put all our knowledge together in technology, in making sure that real estate companies can benefit in terms of operations and scaling up.
I would like to quickly add at this stage that Cosine Labs is the proud recipient of Emerging Startup of the Year, an award that was presented to us by the Government of India. In fact, presented to us by the IT Minister of the Information Technology Minister of India. And this was given to us for Best Women Entrepreneur of the Year for Emerging Technology Startup for 2019.
That's impressive. So, let's talk more about your company. So, why, in the sense of what the problem you try to solve and how your company was created?
We initially started by creating solutions for smart spaces. We actually started with a smart home solution, and it was essentially to solve a problem for my parents. My parents and an elderly couple live alone, and the solution was try to make their lives simpler. And with that idea in mind, we created a solution in 2016-ish, I think the end of 2016. It was a completely voice-enabled, AI and ML-enabled smart home solution that was actually smart and not just a solution on a mobile app. Our systems could understand what was happening in a space and respond accordingly. So it had intelligence that could do things on its own. It was an active system rather than being a passive system. So that's how we started the journey. And over the years, we realized that it's not just smart homes, but there are at least 4 other verticals that are very important. And the 4 verticals being co-living, which is shared economy or shared accommodation, co-working, which has been an off-late concept, And then there is communities, which are gated communities, if you talk about, where there are a group of houses together to form a residential unit. And the fourth being commercial buildings, the existing commercial buildings. And if you take all of these four different verticals, our solutions could be extended for each one of these. And then we created vertical solutions for each of these segments. And the current focus is heavily on co-living, which is the shared accommodation. And we have created 4 products for the co-living industry.
So what are these products? What exactly are the products and solutions? So which people want to buy from you?
All right. So co-living is run by operators which typically run on an asset-light model. They do not own the properties. They usually lease or rent the properties out. And then they manage it for their end customers who are tenants for a typical longer stay than what would be a hotel stay, right? So that's co-living, and the tenure is anywhere between 3 months to a year, 9 months, depending upon the use case. So our solution is for the operators. So our operators are our clients, and with our solutions, we enable them to make their operations faster and help them scale up quicker. So our solution starts from the entrance or the access itself. We try to make the buildings as automated as possible so that it can be run without human intervention. When a tenant books a property or a room, as part of the onboarding, we take a few pictures or selfies of the tenant. And that's what is programmed at the access of the door using our facial recognition systems. So when the tenant arrives at the property, the facial recognition system identifies the person and allows that person access to the property. The second is smart door locks that we manufacture. And these smart door locks can be opened from the app as well as through PIN codes. So when the tenant is welcomed to the property, he automatically receives a PIN code to access the door. So he can go directly to the property, to the room, use his PIN code to enter the room. This standard experience eliminates the need for any manual intervention and also the entire key management that operators had to do otherwise, which is issue cards or keys, which across 10,000 beds or more becomes a big operational issue. The third is energy metering, which allows us to do sub-metering or allow the tenants to pay for energy as they use. It's not a standard fee that they have to pay, and it is something which allows the operator to save on energy costs on their building, which is pretty a significant amount on their outflow. With this, we have a monetization platform. So co-living has a lot of shared resources, like there are common spaces that everybody could use, like a cinema room, an entertainment room, meeting rooms, you have cafeteria. All of these spaces are also allowed to be booked, and the tenants can only pay for the time that they are using that resource, which creates a pay-per-use monetization platform for co-living operators. All the same is also applicable for the electronic white goods. For example, washing machines, your cafeteria, microwave ovens, your electronic appliances that are there in the common areas. All of them can be reserved by the tenants, and they end up paying for the time that they have used it. This enables the operators to also have a very good insight in terms of how their properties are working, because they know the usage of each of these spaces. They know the usage of who is coming into the property real time, and they are able to use all of this data to make better information insights and decisions on how to run their business. All of this is available on one integrated IoT platform, which is a patented platform from Cosine Labs, with a unified dashboard that allows them to control all their properties from one location. So you could be an international co-living agency or an operator, and you could control all your properties, see who is coming into your property, see if that's an authorized visitor or an unauthorized visitor, see who's checked into your rooms, see whether housekeeping has happened, see whether tickets have been resolved on time. All of that on one platform across all your properties. So now co-living operators can scale up pretty quickly and have the same standard of experience for the end customer, regardless of which property they own in which part of the world. The other very important thing I want to point out is that all of the hardware is manufactured by us, and all of them are completely retrofit, which means that they do not need to change any existing infrastructure, or no additional civil work is required. So it could be an existing building, it could be a greenfield project. There's no additional civil work.
You say that these two last points, you think that they are the key differentiation of our company that makes you different. So you...
Yes, the software and the hardware, the fact that we control the entire ecosystem, we have a single place where operators can control all of these devices, and the fact that everything is retrofit makes it a true differentiator for us. You know, you will find companies that have isolated solutions, like it could be just a door lock or just, access control to a building. It becomes a technology debt for the operators to onboard different technologies and integrate all of that into their systems. It's an effort which is very expensive. But us having all of these products on one platform means that we become the single point of contact for any IoT related solutions and offerings that could enable them to operate better.
Well, it seems a very mature platform, but is there any solutions and products you are developing and expect to have in the future?
Yes, we developed and launched a product a few days ago, which is very relevant to the COVID situation that all of us are facing. Post-lockdown, there is going to be a lot of movement across buildings. People are going to come back to work, to co-living spaces. Children are going to go to schools. And it is important for us, for the general safety of everyone, to be able to ensure that we are tracking, at least at a building level, if people who are not potential patients are screened at the entrance itself. So if you remember the facial recognition system that we mentioned, what we have done is we have added a thermal camera to that system, which allows us to monitor the body temperature of every individual. So think of it as a device at the entrance or at the access that monitors or checks for your face as well as your body temperature. And if you have a fever, which is the primary indicator for not just COVID, but 28 of the 39 pandemic viruses, right? Fever is the first symptom, fever and fatigue. So we are able to test for body temperature, and if there is a fever, we are able to track that person immediately or avoid access to the building immediately. And that's something that is something very relevant to today's day and time, and we think that it's important for the safety of everyone. So that's a product that we have launched as of the last week. And we are trying to reach out to as many corporates, as many schools, as many co-living players, and get our message to everyone. This is our attempt as an IoT company to do something for the COVID situation.
Excellent. And what are which countries do you work currently in, and where do you plan to take your business in the future?
We started our operations from India. As of today, we are looking at the Southeast Asian markets. And our focus is going to be on Southeast Asia, Europe, and America for the next 2 quarters.
I am, as CMO of the company, we are also expanding into, with a lot of focus on the Europe and America regions, which is why we're strategically placed at the moment in the United Kingdom as well, and looking to target quite a few European nations, UK, as well as the Americas, operating from here.
So as we speak, Krithika is in London to look at and expand our business in the European as well as the American.
Oh, guys, excellent. And could you tell us about a successful case with a client of yours?
For our clients in India, we have, and this is a paper that we will be releasing pretty soon as well, which is an analysis of companies who had adopted our system versus companies which were still manual or running on the same process that they were earlier. And there is a stark difference in terms of the operational benefits. For companies that have adopted our system, during this entire lockdown or circuit breaker, as we call it, these companies have been able to operate seamlessly without having to deploy people on the ground. Whereas for companies which were reliant on manual processes, they have been having a very hard time managing properties, and especially the experience to the end customer has been very painful, which is leading to dissatisfaction. And once the lockdown ends, these companies on manual processes will definitely see a reduction in terms of occupancy.
We're focusing on their core businesses, which cost them in terms of outflow. This is deploying people for security reasons as well as energy management. And the fact that we've made these two aspects completely automated and contactless, given that that will be the new norm going forward, it will become imperative for all businesses cutting across co-living and other domains as well to be as contactless as possible, which our solution has exactly targets and we have developed for the last 1.5 years. So there is a fair amount of experience in deploying these solutions as well.
Very good, guys. And what are you looking for at this moment? Investment, expansion, consolidation, growth?
A mix of all. Investment is something that we are actively pursuing. We think that this is a very good opportunity for us to take our solutions and help as many companies as possible. This is a problem that is going to be relevant for us, not for just the next 3 or 4 months, but it is going to become a norm to avoid human contact as much as possible, to make operations streamlined as much as possible. Economies are going to take a hit, and it is imperative that solutions like ours are an integral part of operations for all companies. So for expansion, we need, and that's why we need investment. And we are a core technology company, so we keep continuing to do innovation on an everyday basis, I would say. So yes, the two things that we would definitely require at this moment are investment and an ability to reach out to as many people so that they are aware of these solutions and can take a more informed decision.
Across the 4 domains, especially that Siddharth was alluding to earlier, so we're definitely looking at co-living players, we're looking at co-working spaces, corporate offices, corporate spaces, and schools as well.
Very good. And guys, I'd like to go in a different chapter of this interview. I'd like to understand your opinion about the real estate sector that you work with, the real estate industry. Well, as I have spoken to several startups and different companies, investors as well, and I see that my feeling is that the real estate market is seen as very conservative in relation to other sectors. Does this also occur in the countries where you currently working?
Yes, I will take that answer first, and then Kriti, you can. Absolutely, yes. I think, interestingly enough, adoption of technology in real estate has been very, very slow. If you look at technology in real estate, you can broadly classify them in 4 domains or 4 clusters. One is design tech, which is how buildings should and can be designed better. The second is construction tech, which is how do you construct the buildings or the materials that is used or the processes that are used, how do you make that better? The third is op-tech, which is how do you make the operations or the management of these buildings once they are constructed, how do you make that better? And the fourth is end consumer tech, and end consumer tech would be the people who are living in those spaces. Is there technology that you can provide for making their lives better, right? These 4 verticals and all of these have had very slow adoption. As far as design tech is concerned, if you take examples of design tech, you'll realize that a lot of new firms are allowing collaborative design. Earlier designs were supposed to be done in reiterations on a certain known platforms only, but now newer technologies and startups have come that allow collaboration on the web, online, with multiple people designing together, collaborating together, reducing the design time and bringing in best practices by almost 50%. The second is design construction tech. We are seeing prefab and various levels of innovations on prefab technology. We are seeing extensive use of robotics in construction tech. And that's something also which has had very limited adoption in real estate. Operation tech, a lot of the companies, real estate companies, they do maintain and manage the properties. We have had at least a little bit of adoption there, and I would say we as a company are in that segment, so that would be the operation tech. We think that technology is, all real estate companies need to have technology at the core. But traditionally, real estate companies have not been technology companies. And that's why a close collaboration and a close working understanding has to be established between both parties. And if you put technology at the core, as was the case with Airbnb, maybe the next big revolution in real estate will come or could come from a mix of a technology and a real estate company. Krithika?
No, I think you've pretty much summed up everything. I just wanted to quickly add that the core domain that we are targeting is the co-living sector. And the co-living sector, traditionally, like Siddharth alluded to earlier, is an asset-light sector. They don't necessarily, have a lot of inventory on their books, which allows them to adopt technology much faster. So our experience has been that we traditionally moved away, in fact, from supplying or building smart home products for the real estate industry to the co-living sector, which adopts technology much faster. And hence it was a very strategic move from a business perspective, just to make sure that technology penetrates and gets adopted much faster as well. So our learning and our experience has been that the real estate sector has been really slow in adopting. We would like to make a significant difference, and our product line can still exist if the appetite by real estate developers accept our product. It is fully built out and it is ready for adoption, in fact. And however, we had to move into the co-living sector that is able to adopt technology much faster, because they are operators who need scale, who need duplicability, who need to be able to recreate their model across multiple geographies in a very less amount of time. And that's where we are able to see a lot more traction. That has been our experience.
That's very interesting. And one question that comes to me is, well, if you have a very solid solution that provides a very good results and can easily prove themselves in terms of cost effect, what are the key points that allow what are the difficulties to convince, to talk to big companies so they can understand and actually use your technology?
The answer is, it is not difficult to convince. All operators understand that this is the only way that they can scale up and be profitable, if I must say. So it's not been a question of whether they are convinced or not of the solution. It's been more in terms of
Reach.
the scale at which they want to deploy. So if not for the COVID situation, we would have completed 3,500 to 5,000 units in the last 2 months. So that's the scale that we're talking about. Everybody is aware and everybody knows that this is the only way to do it. The current solution, the current time does prohibit us in terms of just the deployments, but I'm sure that this is a very temporary phase, while the nature of business is going to be impacted permanently. So this is something everybody sooner or later has to adopt. It's been, the outreach has been difficult because there are very few platforms like GRI Tech which allow a lot of participants to be aware of solutions like ours. So these platforms have been few and less, and a big shout out and thank you to GRI for thinking of this and creating something like this.
I would peg that as the number one challenge for us. I think most importantly, the solution exists. People are not aware of the solution, and big MNCs need to know that a single platform that covers core problems that are being solved, such as security and energy management, a company like that exists, and reach is the most important challenge that needs to be overcome.
Very interesting. And now the relation between these mid-sized and high-tech companies, and small and mid-sized high-tech companies, to big corps. And what do you think are the types of partnerships or collaboration you think that are most sustainable for both big corps and small and mid-sized high-tech companies?
Good question. One thing that usually comes out as a concern for big companies is signing up with a startup for a big order. right? So that's always a question in all big corporates. I think the financial team, and they will come back and ask the question, which is how can we rely on a startup, right? We're giving them orders worth a few $1 million. What if they don't deliver? One, or two, what if they go under, right? And just this decision itself, I think, extends the entire, the closing cycle, because there are various decisions, there are various backups, there are BCPs that are put into place, signed, and all of that. I think what needs to be there, one, is definitely a closer collaboration. So if if a big company really likes the technology of a startup, they could either look at, one, investing in the company so that they have at least the ability to have better insights into spending and the health of the company. They could create a joint development program in which the big companies could ensure that financial instruments required to run that JD is in place. Or three, it could be a technology collaboration in which both companies share technology, and the big corporates can then take that technology and deploy it in-house without having a dependency on the startup. Various models can be worked out, but I think the mindset, the ability to first understand what the offering of the tech companies, the startups are, and I think giving them a chance, I think that's key.
Krithika, I would like to add.
No, I completely agree. I think it's just the speed and turnaround time that has mostly impacted this gap between big MNCs and startups. And if we could have that turnaround time sped up, it would make a lot more impact.
Sure. And one last question I have to you is, if you could give one piece of advice to big companies and another piece of advice to small and mid-sized companies that are at the beginning of the innovation journey, what would it be?
I don't think, I personally speaking, I don't think we are in a position to advise other people. We would rather take advice from others. Well, I can suggest get a good team. I think that's very important. A team, and especially if you're focusing on technology, I would say it's important that you have a very strong internal technical team. Technology will change every 6 months. The things which are very popular, which are in use today, will become, will phase out in 6 months. So it's important to be abreast with new technology, and not to be afraid of taking risks. So every company should at least have some budget, especially the big companies, should have some budget allocated to just try out new technology. It is a must-have, regardless of which space they are in. Constant research, constant innovation is the only thing that will keep companies profitable and sustainable. So allocate at least some amount for doing random, technical experiments.
I would definitely tell big MNCs to be agile, be nimble, deploy, and make sure that you try as many innovative solutions that come your way. We've been on both sides. Siddharth and I have experience of being both in MNCs as well as in startups, mid-size organizations as well. Siddharth has been in mid-size startups. The core difference is the time taken to take a decision and deploy, by which time the innovation has already been widely accepted or deployed by many other organizations. As a small company, as a small startup, we're not able to convert and get our ideas from innovation stage to deployment stage as fast as that decision-making process. And the closer that we can reduce that decision-making process, sometimes it's red tapeism, sometimes it's management change, sometimes it is government mandates. But there have been so many challenges that have arisen in our startup journey that have taken a lot more time. We fully back our product, and we know that if our product reached the customer at the time in which that we thought of it and built it out, it would have made a much larger impact than where it is today. So I think the biggest piece of advice that I would give MNCs especially is deploy. We can pick up the pieces of fixing afterwards, but you'd be able to see a far larger reach and impact once it's been implemented. And the sooner we do that, I think we'll stay ahead of the times. That would be my piece of advice for big MNCs.
Oh, excellent, guys. It was really amazing talking to you and listening to your thoughts and get to know your company. I wish you all the best and that you can keep growing and keep developing such innovative solutions just like this one that you have presented today. Thank you very much, guys.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Gui. Thank you so much for having us. Thank you so much for taking out the time and talking to us. It's been a pleasure to be here. And I wish you all the best on this platform, all the best to be able to reach out to as many people as possible. So a big thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much. We look forward to taking our COVID-19 solution, especially during these times, to contribute responsibly to the society. And we look forward to taking it to as many sectors and domains as possible. So thank you so much for your collaboration in this regard.
I will do my best. Thank you very much, guys. Let's keep in touch.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.